Good morning. Welcome to your Saturday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist, on my way today to do some volunteer work. And so I wanted to get this in before I head out the door. So today we have a card from the Nature Portals deck by Bruce and Carol Malner, and it is a card with which we are familiar. So obviously Spirit is saying we need this message again. It's the deer, and it says, look beyond opposites to wholeness. We live in a physical universe that consists of many opposites: light, dark, large, small, dry, wet, sun, moon, life, death, and hard, soft, just to name a few. The two deer on this card represent the opposite energies of masculinity and femininity. As you observe nature, find examples of opposites. Notice how one could not exist without the other. One is not better than the other. They are both a necessary part of the wholeness of nature. And I'm going to take that last piece there and expand on that. Embrace the opposites within yourself to experience wholeness. The quote is by Hermann Hesse, and it's, beyond the pairs of opposites of which the world consists, other new insights begin. So the first thing I want to do is a little more esoteric, but then I want to land it in terms of living day to day. When we look at things, our brains, again, are wired to compartmentalize. It makes it easier to deal with all of the information that comes at us. If we can say, this is a red card, this is a blue card, this is a yellow card, and lump things together in categories, it's easier to deal with the categories than it is to deal with the individual pieces of data. Wonderful on one hand, it makes for economical thinking. Not so wonderful on the other hand when we then lump those things together. Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, we tack a bunch of beliefs onto those labels that don't necessarily fit people who would fall in that category. I'm going to encourage us all to think about it in terms of a continuum. Good morning, Kathy. And a bell-shaped curve, okay? That the majority of people with a particular label on them are probably middle of the road. And the extremes of both ends of that label are fewer people than what's in the middle. So let's just take a category, Hispanics, all right? We again, our brains tend to attach certain characteristics to anybody that we shove into the box labeled Hispanics. When we really open that box and look at the human beings who are in there, it's a disparate group also. You're going to have conservative Hispanics and liberal Hispanics. You're going to have tall Hispanics and short Hispanics. You're going to have heavy-set Hispanics and skinny Hispanics. There's variety within those categories within which we try to shove people. Shove people, shove things, etc. Again, our brain does this naturally to try to cope with all the data that's coming at us. Hello, Missy. But it doesn't serve us when we pigeonhole people to the point where we can't truly see who a human being is. So again, I want us to think about things in terms of continuum. So I'm just going to pick one of these that's on here. Dry, wet. So let's stand out on our front porch and it's raining out or it's snowing out, whatever. It's not like we have some line of demarcation. This is dry and this is wet. There's all variations in the mix. So we can have a light rain. We can have a mist. We could have fog. We could have a downpour. We can have a monsoon. There's a ton of variety in that category with the end points, dry, wet, okay? Same for anything else, all right? Same for anything else. If we look at a continuum that's liberal, conservative, we're going to have all different degrees of that along that continuum. And slapping a label on somebody and dismissing them completely because of that label is not a smart way to live your life. I'll take a stand on that one. Okay, so there's also the part in there about noticing that one cannot exist without the other. I'm going to say too, notice that that whole continuum is important, that whole continuum. And when we ignore a huge chunk of the continuum, we don't pay much attention to those who are in the middle on something, we just focus on the endpoints, we're doing humanity a disservice, okay? Let's start looking for nuance. Let's start looking for shades of gray. There used to be this wonderful, and I want to hit that, and then I'm going to go back to this other point I was going to make. Shades of gray. We've got black and we've got white, but we've got a bazillion shades of gray in the middle, and we have colors. We have plaid, we have stripes, we have more diversity than you can shake a stick at, all right? That's the stuff I want us to begin paying attention to. Is that going to be uncomfortable? Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. When we lump things into categories, it makes it easier for us theoretically to deal with it. Well, that's black, so that means this. That's white, so this means that. We start going, well, this is gray. And not only that, this is dove gray, and this is charcoal gray. Holy crap, how do I deal with all that? Okay? Allow, breathe, be with it. Pretty soon your brain begins to develop the ability to not deal with all of that vibrancy in life. That's actually my word for 2019 is vibrant. That's what I'm going to be. That's how I'm going to live. That's what I want to see in my world is vibrancy. All right? So, and again, I want to hear what your word is for the year. But going back to this category idea, I don't know if you ever saw, there was a magazine ad, and the title was something along the lines of, this is what size 12 looks like. And it was a myriad of women standing there, all different heights, all different arrangements of body. There was huge variety in size 12. And I thought, how cool is that? It would be so friggin' boring if every person was a cookie cutter. And in middle school, unfortunately, we tend to strive for cookie cutter. We want to fit in. And as Brene Brown says, fitting in is kind of the death knell for human beings. We need a sense of belonging. Yes, good morning, Jerry. We need a sense of belonging. Who's our tribe? Where do we belong? But the fitting in is not good for us, because usually what fitting in means is we cast off parts of ourself that are integral to who we are as a unique human being. We deny those things. Again, oftentimes starts in middle school. That's a huge petri dish for this kind of thing, a crucible for this kind of thing occurring. We need to reclaim our uniqueness. Here's who I am. I'm not the person who wears the same clothes, likes the same music, reads the same things, watches the same TVs, movies, etc. I'm unique. Here's what's unique about me. We really need to embrace that uniqueness and appreciate it in others. So for instance, I'm going to be doing some work soon with a team, and this team consists of 3 people, and I've done some assessment with them in terms of who they are underneath the hood, and they're very different people. They're having some conflict because they don't get each other's way of being. A good team consists of diverse people because they each bring to that team their unique twist. What it means, though, is we need to help people appreciate those differences. And I'll give you an example. I had an administrative assistant years ago. Her name was Julie. She was fantastic. I'm the big picture person. I'm the let's think about all the bells and whistles that are possible. She was the logic and reason and how are we going to get there person. So I was accelerator, she was brakes. It's nice to have both. If you're just the accelerator, you tend to go off the cliff. Do accelerators always love brakes? No, because it slows us down. Do brakes always love accelerators? No, because we scare the hell out of them. But together, it's a beautiful team. when there's appreciation for the other person's gifts. So Julie learned to bring something up, give me 24 to 48 hours to think about it, to stew about it, whatever, and then I could come back and say, yes, you're right, we do need to address that before we move forward on this. I learned, plant a seed with her about, here's where we're going with this baby, in language that she could not get flipped out about, give her 24 to 48 hours to think about it, and then she could come back and say, yes, but what about this and this and this? So that I could address the pieces that needed to be addressed so that we were much more solid moving forward with whatever that initiative was. So what I will be doing with this team of 3 people is not only explaining to each of them what makes them tick and explaining to the others what makes this person tick, but giving them the languaging for how to communicate with each other. So the person who's like me, Mach 3 with their hair on fire, would do well to learn to come in and go, you know, I've been thinking about, instead of, we got this idea, okay? It goes better. It goes better. Does that mean you turn off your fire? No, absolutely not. But it means you learn how to mitigate the fire when communicating with the person who's water, right? So again, my whole thing with today's reading is I want you thinking about those opposites, how to appreciate those differences, how to use the strengths that lie in both of those differences. Let's take divine masculine, divine feminine. Divine feminine has been historically, certainly in our country, denigrated. We don't talk about, we don't do receiving well, we don't do openness well, we don't do tending and befriending well. We compete, we fight, we struggle, we go to war, we do all that divine masculine stuff. Does that have a place? Absolutely. But does the divine feminine have an equal and equally important place? Abso-freaking-lutely. All right? So that's your goal for today. Instead of seeing black and white, instead of even seeing gray or color, I want you looking for the plaid. All right? Today's goal is we're looking for plaid. We're looking for diversity. We're looking for how things are different, how people are different. Look in a marriage or a relationship. There are differences. How do you capitalize on those differences and make them assets instead of liabilities? Okay? So I'd love to hear your feedback on this one. This was a fun one. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you are capable of far more than you think you are, including stepping away from black and white and looking at plaid.